Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, I know a lot of us in the Monster Hunter community have let ourselves get maybe a touch absorbed with Monster Hunter now. It is just so simple to play, so easy to get lost in, so inviting to just pick up for 2 minutes at a time and just get a couple of hunts in. Yes, there are definitely some issues with the pricing of the various microtransactions and stuff that I've definitely talked about before. It's important to be aware of and to talk about so that it doesn't just get lost, but on the whole, pretty much anyone who has actually given this game a chance can agree that it is fun to actually play, and that is incredible. Well, it's Monster Hunter. It feels like Monster Hunter. The way they have managed to actually relatively accurately portray the concept of Monster Hunter combat, entire weapon movesets, and monster movesets into such a simple idea. 75-second hunts, one input at a time from the player, which is just tapping the screen, holding down on the screen, swiping the dodge, or activating your special attack. It truly is just a magical thing that they've managed here. This specific game then is actually undergoing a major update in just over a week, and while we have gotten a bit of teaser imagery and concepts from the social media accounts, I was actually recently invited down by Capcom and Niantic to a little private event, and we got to see some of the new stuff that they've been cooking up and get an actual hands-on with some new monsters and weapons. There is some stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about, of course, and I wasn't allowed to bring any footage to show you of the new weapons in proper use, but given this unique opportunity, of course, I need to tell you all what's to come in the very near future, as well as my thoughts on the new content from experiencing it personally in the flesh. First up, essentially the game plan for this game moving forwards is 3-month seasons, 4 per year, each season being a major content update, with smaller events, of course, popping up over the course of them. This first season is called Fulminations in the Frost, representative of what is considered the quote-unquote flagship of the update, not to be confused with a flagship monster, which is of course a specific term, but essentially the important poster boy edition of the update, who is Zinogre, and the Frost, of course, representing that this is the winter season. From promotional imagery that was released earlier, a lot of people were speculating that this would actually come with a new biome added to the game, a wintry, frosty, snowy one to go with our forest, swamp, and desert that we have currently, and I did get confirmation that actually is not going to be the case. We are sticking with our 3 biomes that we have for now. There will just be an aesthetic shift to the way that the game looks in general to represent that it is winter, and that the world that we are hunting in, which is our world, is of course colder than normal. And I think that's actually a really cool idea to represent in some way in the game visually. Past that, on top of Zinogre, who will be a new monster, we will also be getting 3 more new monsters. Banbaro, who people had managed to guess from the equipment in the promotional picture, barioth, who once again was predicted for the same reason, but then the sly, sneaky fellow that they did not even hint at a little bit, a monster I'd not seen predict was coming in any way, which is actually radobaan, the lovely roly-poly tar boy covered in bones, and those of you who are up to snuff on your Monster Hunter knowledge will immediately question something quite simple here. Radobaan uses sleep gas. Does this mean that sleep is coming to Monster Hunter now? And the answer is yes, it is, and radobaan weapons do have sleep on them as well. I have seen them myself. I didn't get to try a sleep weapon specifically, so I can't tell you exactly how the intricacies of it work when applied to a monster, but I can tell you that getting slept yourself is definitely something that will put you in the danger zone. As far as how to unlock these new monsters then when the time comes, you will need to be HR 11 when the update drops on December 7th, and when this happens, there will be a sort of quest chain that will unlock, almost like how the story works, that will get you situated with the update itself and its new introductions. Another major feature of this update is the addition of 2 classic Monster Hunter weapons to the roster of Monster Hunter Now, which again people were able to work out from the picture that they showed. These are going to be both the lance and the dual blades, and I actually got to mess around with both of them in actual combat, and I'll get into detail in a minute, but for a short review, they are both very fun and impressively well done as far as smushing their entire movesets into such a simple input system while still keeping the character of the weapon alive and the important moments that they have too. On top of this, the last major thing is that there will also be a major balance patch that will be applied with this update, for which there will be a blog post by the team behind the game tomorrow, actually, with these specific details. From what they have told me, their main concern with this patch is that they believe until now, ranged weapons have it a bit too easy in comparison to the melee weapons. Melee weapons come inherently with more risk because you have to stand right in front of the monster, often in particularly dangerous places because of where the weak spots are, and so they want it to feel a bit more rewarding to do so as a melee weapon in comparison to the damage of ranged weapons from a distance, which should instead be rewarded because they have good positioning, planning, and forethought that allows them to output damage from safe places consistently. Put simply, expect that melee weapons will be stronger relative to ranged weapons after this update hits. One last general thing worth noting is that there is a pretty notable surprise coming with this update too that nobody has any idea about, something that I really absolutely do not want to spoil, but just know that while all this stuff is quite a big content drop for the game, all the stuff that you know about now, it's not quite all that we have coming either, and we will wait until a bit closer to release of the update itself to talk about what I mean here. Now with all the general stuff gone over, it's time for me to talk about my specific personal experience experience, getting an advanced hands-on experience with all the new monsters and weapons, and again, of course, a really big thank you to Capcom and Niantic for arranging this and bringing me over to actually get to do this. For context, I was essentially handed a phone with a list of paintballed monsters that included all of the update creatures, and the account also had unlocked every piece of gear in the game and had it all upgraded to exactly grade 5. So I will say that I can't tell you how expensive it will be to craft the new weapons, as I didn't get to see that for myself, but that said, this let me try a few different things and mess around a bit to get a feel for it. While it defaulted us to Lance, I of course did go straight over to dual blades, as well I just have a significant preference for dual blades over Lance in the series, and considering the more complex moveset of the weapon, I was really intrigued to see how they had brought it over, and let me just say, I was absolutely not disappointed in the slightest. Dual blades are fast and satisfying as you would hope they would be. Your basic combo is essentially just the normal slashes, but you also have an extra bar on your screen, like the one that Longsword has, and this bar represents your demon mode charge. It starts full at the beginning of a hunt. If you tap your special attack button, you will activate demon mode, which starts to drain this bar and also changes your actual combos. In demon mode, you get your classic demon mode combos. Your dodge rolls become the rotating slice like in Rise and Sunbreak, so you actually do damage while dodging in demon mode, and if you input enough times on your normal taps in demon mode, you will go into the full-on demon flurry, locking yourself on the spot for a few seconds, doing a chain of attacks that does massive damage. On top of this, when your special gauge is actually full, you can use it to do the Beyblade attack that we all know and love, throwing yourself up into the air and then spinning along the monster's spine, slicing the whole length of it. Of course, this will be more potent on bigger, longer monsters, and just to be clear, you interact with demon mode and activate it and deactivate it by hitting the special attack button, but it is not your special attack, that is the Beyblade. If you press the button while not in demon mode, you go into demon mode. If you press it while in demon mode and the gauge isn't full, you will go back to normal mode. If your special gauge is full, you will instead do the special attack, and this can only be done from in demon mode. All in all, dual blades really impressed me, and between the power of elements in this game and the potential of statuses, I have quite high expectations just for how it will actually perform as far as the damage it will do. Then the second weapon that I got to play with was the Lance. I don't have quite as much to say for this one, as the weapon itself just is simpler. You hold down your finger to guard, you tap to poke, and there does seem to be a mechanic where if you guard at just the right time, you get to do a higher damage poke, which is really solid. Your perfect evade is the charge attack from Rise and Sunbreak, your gap closing attack is the classic Lance charge maneuver, but then your special attack is also the classic Lance charge, but with significantly more damage attached to it when you actually hit a monster with it. The general gameplay is quite simple, but extremely familiar to people who know what Lance feels like, and it's quite enjoyable. It will definitely make a great addition to the game. Then we have the monsters, and without wanting to spoil anything, I was incredibly impressed once again with how well they've just translated these into the game. It felt exactly like hunting a banbaro, hunting a barioth, hunting a radobaan, with the one slight exception being zinogre, but in a really good way. Of course, the normal way that you fight zinogre, he has to slowly charge up before he goes fully online and gets all electrified, and there is a bit of an issue with that concept in Monster Hunter now, because of course the hunts are only 75 seconds long. So they simply made it so that he only has to charge up a couple of times, he will focus on doing this animation early, and then he will enter the state for the majority of the rest of the hunt unless you knock him out of it. Pretty much right around the same point that most monsters would enter a normal in Rage. All the actual effects on the monster moves were just cool as hell, and you got to see all the classic parts of the movesets of all 4 creatures. Genuinely, I have no complaints about these. I'm just really excited for the update to actually drop so that you can all experience the love and care that this team has clearly put into this for all of us. One last little tidbit of information too, I did take a sneaky little peek at the skills on all the new bits of armor and equipment, and while I won't bog you down with a full list of what each monster has on each armor piece yet, I will tell you that we have 2 brand new skills coming to the game through these monsters. One of which is tied to Barioth, which increases the damage you do with aerial attacks. Most notably, this will be affecting Sword and Shield's little shield bash, Longsword's Helmbreaker, and parts of Dual Blade itself. Then Zinogre brings in a new skill which I expect to become extremely meta very quickly, and this skill increases your special gauge by a reasonably high chunk every time you get a perfect evade. This just creates a clear, beautiful gameplay loop where you want to do perfect evades anyways because they have obvious defensive advantages compared to getting hit, but also tend to combo into positive offensive reactions. And when you do that, you can now also boost your special gauge with this skill, which then will lead you to do your highest damage attack more frequently. It's just a really strong skill that I expect to see a ton of people use. That just about does it then for now, everyone. All the information you know, and more importantly, the information you probably didn't know about the first proper season coming to Monster Hunter now, Fulminations in the Frost, which will be on December 7th, with 4 new monsters, 2 new weapons, and a total of 46 new pieces of equipment being added to the game for you to gather if you want to. Again, I'm just really thankful to have had this experience, and honestly, genuinely excited to share all the things that I can with you so that you know what's to come, and so you know that it's going to be a really fun time for all of us. I hope you've enjoyed this breakdown of the near future for Monster Hunter Now then, and let me know down below if you have any more specific questions about any of these things, and I'll answer anything that I'm actually allowed to that I learned from this event. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.